Welcome back, friends! Last guy here, it's time for the vlog! We're doing the top 10 games of 2023. The key thing to say is, I played these games in 2023. There are 2 games from 2022 in here, as far as I can remember. And yeah, the thing is, this happens, where I get to play an amazing game a little late. And whatever time it was with Undertale, I played like 2 years later, and it got like #1. Or we gave it its own award, because it would have been #1, I forget. But this just happens where games just come out late, or I just didn't have a chance to play them until late, or they came out... No, late, that's it. There's no early. You can't come out a year earlier somehow. So the one thing to qualify here is because of this, I did not play Baldur's Gate 3 until like January 2nd. So, Baldur's Gate 3, spoiler alert, is #1 for 2024 unless something dethrones it. Just letting you know that right now, it ain't going to be on this list. Would it be #1? Yes, it would. But it's not, because I didn't play it till 24. There are 2 games in here from 2022. I think I already said that. So, how did I decide this? Is like just whatever I felt at the moment. This is the second draft. The first draft made me realize, no, I'm going to shift these around, because this is how I actually feel about things. So here we are, with the top 10, and there's 11 games here for a reason. You'll hit the reason when we get to the top 3. So, first up, number 10 is Mario Wonder. Mario Wonder is a wonderful return to form with Mario. Like, very good platforming, very creative. They tried all these different ideas. Very fun, but it feels lonely anyway. Like, they did online weird, where I feel like they did a conceit. So online is, you're playing alongside other people, but they don't affect you necessarily. They can res you, but they also show you how they went about things. You can do things with it. It's weird. It's weird. The online is weird, but you can do local, like, both playing at the same time, but you can't do online doing that. Very weird idea. It does hurt it because of that, because they show like they have some online capability, but not the online capability we want. It's so weird. Just weird. A lot of creative ideas. Something that I don't... There's some design things I'm not a fan of. I don't like that you can't get everything in one run. You have to do 2 runs to get everything. Because there's certain ones where it's like, you have to not collect the seed, and you have to collect the seed for these other things. Like, why can't I do it all in one run? Because I think it'd feel more accomplished that way, but you can't. So that's unfortunate. A lot of fun idea powers, like, of course, Elephant is hilarious. I like the checkpoints you can make yourself for others, which is an interesting idea there. But another weakness is just those find the coin rooms. Those are just terrible. Those are not good. They're bad. So there were some weaknesses to the game, but it was still a good game, a very good game. So that's why it's at number 10 and not higher. 9th place is Sea of Stars. Sea of Stars is very good. It is New Age Chrono Trigger, very good New Age Chrono Trigger. Takes what was great about Chrono Trigger, improves on it in a lot of ways. Question is it better than Chrono Trigger? I'm not going to say that. It learned from Chrono Trigger, and it does very good with it. The story is... I like some things about the story, and I dislike other things about the story, but I'll be honest, it made me more emotionally connected to these characters than I did with Chrono Trigger. I'm comparing to Chrono Trigger for some reason, just cause. There was a lot of good emotional connection. There's great storytelling with certain characters, and other characters are a bit weaker, but overall, it's very touching and very good, and there are some good moments. The big thing for me is how you traverse the world. Besides the gameplay, is you're climbing mountains, you're going up ladders, you're climbing down ladders, you're going downstairs, upstairs. You are putting your back to a wall and just climbing like a rock wall. And like different, like rock wall climbing up, and then there's like rock wall like you're shuffling to the side so you don't fall off to your death. There's jumping on platforms. There's just so many things. There's swinging on things. So many different things you do. That is just such an improvement on the Chrono Trigger formula. And I'm really happy with that, and it's just so impressive, and that's why I really like the game a lot. Interesting thing, though, is the makers of Chrono Trigger, they're asked about making Chrono Trigger 2, and they're like, it already exists, it's Sea of Stars. Hell of a compliment. Hell of a compliment with that one. That's crazy. Number 8 is Pikmin 4, another game which returned to form just like Mario Wonder. Pikmin 4. It's back, it's great, it has limitations I'm not a fan of, but it is so beautiful and so fun, and Ochi is the cutest thing ever. Are you kidding me? The thing is, there are purists who don't like it because the game's easier when you have Ochi, but I think it also adds a lot to the game as well. You can play without Ochi, you can play with Ochi. Ochi does make the game easier, but leveling up Ochi and conquering things with Ochi just feels nice. One limitation I don't like is you only have 3 Pikmin types at a time. Not a big fan of that. I really like having just everything out there and just conquering everything with it. But that does mess with, I suppose, balancing, so they had to do something about that. And the story's interesting. I like the characters. What I don't like is that they nerfed Olimar, which is very unfortunate. That's the only thing I don't like there. They nerfed Olimar, which I just don't like that. What's interesting is how they integrated multiplayer into the game, like versus mode. So that was pretty cool. And man, the second half of that game is so much harder. It's very fun. It's a great exploration and challenging game and some strategy going on there. Pikmin 4 is just a great return to form. I'm happy with that. And next game, number 7, Super Mario RPG. That's right, there's 2 RPGs, and this one's better than Sea of Stars to me. I think it's partially nostalgia. I think nostalgia is definitely part of it. Super Mario RPG, I feel like, coming from Square, was a lot of ideas they wanted to try out, and they decided to do it with this IP, with Mario. And the DNA of that went into other games. As far as I can remember back, I think Super Mario RPG was the first input game. I think it was. The first one was like, hit a button, makes your attack stronger. First one I can remember anyway. And it is the first one to really bring in minigames throughout the story. This is something that I feel like is very much in the DNA of FF7. Because I'm thinking of FF6. FF6 had these different moments that do happen, like the raft and the train and things like that, but not really minigames. FF7 is when they did minigames, so I feel like the DNA of Super Mario RPG gave ideas for something like Final Fantasy VII, where you have like the train, you have the spaceship, you have the gym, and other things like that. I very much feel like there was inspiration from RPG for that. Super Mario RPG is a great baby's first RPG. It's a very easy RPG, but it is so very fun and very creative, and I love the comedy to it. I love the writing to this game. And they added more QOL to the game as well. There's a lot of better quality of life, because there are things you could not get unless you just knew where it was. Or you jumped literally everywhere, but they added items to make it easier to find things, and they added NPCs to make it easier to collect things, so you didn't have to be perfect in every minigame. You could still buy it later, so you didn't have to restart the entire game to try again, because you didn't know there was an item there. Like, you might not necessarily know there was an item there. Or you're just not good at that minigame, you wanted to get the item anyway. So I like that you can 100% the game with this remake, and it's a very good, I'd say, I don't know if remaster remake's the right word. Remaster is a better word here, because it's not like they redid everything like FF7 has been redone. They made a newer, better coat of it, but they did add a couple features as well. So it's just a really good remaster is a better way to put it, I guess. Or whatever another different word is, I don't know. But I love the Encyclopedia edition, that's really good, makes Malo more relevant. And just hearing everyone's thoughts and more information on them, it's very cute, I like that a lot. And I like the 3D animations, and I really love the power bar stuff. Like, when you have Mario, Malo, and Gino skating around for their special, it's so cool. When you have Mario with Malo and Bowser up in the clown car throwing down blasts, that's also really cool. I love that. It's very fun. Everything looks great. You can do the old music as well if you want. There's so much nostalgia going on in there, but it's also just a solid game. And yeah, very happy. And also just all the inputs, just so creative, so many great ideas there. And just really happy with Super Mario RPG. Changing gears is something very different at 6th place. And that is a game called Pentiment. This game came out of Obsidian, the people behind Fallout New Vegas and Outer Worlds. And this game was wild. Oh, by the way, different Outer Worlds. Outer Wilds probably would have been number 2 for 2022 if we did one in 2022. Outer Wilds was amazing. Alright, so Pentiment is your classic point and click. Like, you walk around, talk to people, and you learn things and things like that, and you gotta talk to certain people, and you make decisions, and those decisions have ramifications. And the skills your character has will also affect that as well. And It's very interesting love letter to just the old style art of whatever time period I can't remember right now. It is a very different looking game, and I understand why it would turn so many people off, but it's very beautifully done in that style. And something great is, like, you're doing a mystery. Like, your character's going through stuff, he's going through a mystery, he's trying to figure things out, and you're trying to figure out with him. And there were definitely surprises I did not expect. There are great moments in this story, and there's moments that will just rip your heart out. It really will, if you allow yourself to be emotionally invested. The main character is an artist who is just going through some things at different points in the story. It's a story in 3 acts, and the main character just goes through so much in these acts, and it is just so much. There's a lot of melancholy to this character, there's a lot of creativity, a lot of inspiration to this character. He's going through so much emotionally, and if you have any bit of artist in you, it will resonate with you. And it was just very good, and something interesting about it is the fonts of characters, where there's just different fonts for the different, because there's religious characters, so they have a religious font. There's peasants, so it's not very pretty font. And nobles and all these different levels of intelligence and learning. And your character will see their dialogue in those texts. And he'll talk to, like, printing press people, so their text will be in printing press fonts, and they'll talk to holy people, and it'll be in a holy font, and things like that. It's just great moments. It's also interesting because it's also a look into Bavaria a couple hundred years ago, and what kind of priests they were back then, and what kind of nuns were back then, and how religion was viewed back then as well. It's very interesting as a look into the time, and I really enjoyed it. And it's a heck of a game. It's just definitely a hard one to get into, but if you get into it, it will stick with you for a while. It's a good 20, 30-hour game that it was very good. Changing gears to number 5, Alan Wake 2. Alan Wake 2, played it in December, right at the end. It being in the talk for Game of the Year, I get it. It's definitely best narrative. Definitely best narrative of the year. Very interesting game. I did not feel, what's the word here? I felt riveted the whole time. I did not feel bored with the game. I felt like, okay, here's the next thing we gotta do. Here's the next situation. Oh, crazy stuff. Oh, crazy stuff. Spooky stuff. In this game, the stuff the characters go through is just ridiculous. There's so much going on, and it pays good homage to the first game as well, and also pays a little bit of homage also to Control, which links them together, and to other games in the Remedyverse. And they just do nostalgia for Max Payne very effing well. Like, Sam Lake's in here, and he's being Max Payne, and also the original voice of Max Payne, whose name I don't remember right now. And there's a lot of craftsmanship that's done very well. The sound design is really strong. Okay, good, I'm recording. The sound design is very strong. The music is very good with atmosphere. And it's just does a very good job of being creepy and scary. And it's mostly unpredictable, except for there's one thing that was very predictable to me. And it was kind of confusing because how they were trying to push it in a different direction from that. But then it was like, yeah, that's very predictable. But then, oh, hey, surprise. And there was some predictability that still worked anyway. And there was unpredictability that was like, yeah, that feels right as an unpredictable element. And surprise there. And there are just a lot of great character moments between characters talking and characters introspecting and some very creepy moments as well. The game does good job of being scary. I think it did a good job being scarier than, like, Resident Evil 8. I think 7 probably beats it in scare factor, but it's definitely got some good fear there, some good thrills, and you feel very competent with your weaponry as you get better at the game, as you're shooting these shadow touch creatures and things like that. And the story's just crazy. But also, it works and makes sense to a lot of ways, but is also leaving openings of unanswered questions for future games. There's that as well. And there's just some good emotional moments. I'd say the highs are very high, and there's like 2 or 3 lows that, ooh, they bring you low. But I mean like in emotional scale, not in this game's good or bad, in just emotional scale. As far as good goes, the game is solid. It is consistently good the whole way through. It is in no point frustrating. It feels like when you mess up, it is on you, because there are cues that should explain to you what's going on and how to deal with situations. And once you get it, and it's just going well. And the finale's just crazy. Yeah, Alan Wake 2, very good game. I'm very happy with playing that. So what beats Alan Wake 2? I think a game that everyone forgot about because it was just in the middle of the year and got overshadowed by a game that came before it. Armored Core 6. Armored Core 6 is number 4. Armored Core 6 is crazy. I think what hurts Armored Core 6 is you have to beat it 3 times to get the full story. But oh my god, the gameplay is just so fun. It's great just being this badass mech person and just destroying other mechs. It is such a different kind of grimdark world. Like, FromSoft is just very good at doing everything's effed storylines, and this is another one of those. And despite how effed everything is, there is some hopefulness in it because of certain characters. And there are some Dark Souls boss fights in this game, and they're very good. They're very just intimidating, but they're doable. What's interesting about this game is there is some leveling and there's some stat ups you can do, but for the most part it is figuring out what works for each boss and loading out against that. That is what it's trying to be, is you're like, this is the chess move you need to do for this situation. You're fighting a rock, figure out the paper. You're fighting paper, figure out the scissors. You're fighting scissors, figure out the rock. But sometimes you're just like, no, I am only playing rock, and that is all I'm doing, and I'm sticking with it. And you can try to win that way, and it's harder that way, but you can win that way. And the game just does not be kind to you at all. It is not training wheels at all. The tutorials happen after the first boss fight, and the first boss fight is a pain in the butt. It is kind of funny how they do that stuff. And yeah, it's just a fun ride, and there's some characters I really liked. There's definitely some things that happen that hurt my heart that you have to do if you want to do everything. And there were things like, yeah, you take that good. It was a very fun ride. It's just a very long ride at points, but when you get to do the 3rd run, because you have to do it 3 times, and you get to see more context and what's going on, it's very interesting. And it did create some moments where I wish there was another run for some other things, but it's interesting learning so much about what's going on in this world and what you're doing means and what you cause to happen when you 100% the game. A great ride. I could not put it down. I just had to keep going. And it was just amazing. It's a very good game. And we got Elden Ring expansion to look forward to this year. So FromSoft just keeps giving us good things. We eating good if you're a fan of FromSoft, really. And yeah, 4th place, Armored Core 6. I was tempted to put it in 6, but like, no, I liked it better than these 2 games. So that's what happened there. And just a good ride. It was a satisfying ride, just fighting these boss fights and doing them and getting good at it and making bosses feel like nothing at points was also very good. And making earlier obstacles and earlier runs feel like nothing as well. It just felt really badass. And I kind of want to do another run, just vanilla start over. But I also don't want to do all those 3 runs again. But it was just so good. It's just good. If I didn't play 1,000 games a year, 1,000 hyperbole. By the way, Steam keeps track, and I just look at my other things. Scar plays 100 games a year. Scar plays 100 games a year. So out of all those games, these are my tops. And I know I missed out on some really good games that I'm barely learning about now. But now let's get to the top 3. And before we pick top 3, we need to give the Kirby award, because it'd be unfair. Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe gets his own award, because we have to do this every time. Because if we don't, Kirby would be number 1 every year. Because obviously Kirby 2022 would probably have been number 1 or number 2, because Forgotten Land was so dang good. So Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe. It is, just like Forgotten Land, a very good first game for anyone just getting into Kirby. It's got a lot of really fun gameplay. It's very kind to players, but it can also have a very good skill ceiling as well if you really want to challenge yourself in there. A lot of fun powers, a fun story, really fun minigames to play, and thankfully you can play them with AI and you can just have a lot of fun with that. It's a solid, like, 50, 60-hour game if you really want to get everything done and do everything. There's a lot to do in there. Great music, awesome music, very cute, solid gameplay. Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe, just really good. And the only thing that would have made it better and would guarantee first place is if it had online co-op. Online co-op and online minigames would have made Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe the game of the year. I don't care. It would have beat Tears of the Kingdom, because there'd be so much fun to do with it. It would have beat... Actually, it'd be hard to compete with Baldur's Gate 3, because Baldur's Gate 3 is just so good. I think I'd have to put Baldur's Gate 3 over it, because Baldur's Gate 3 is another co-op game that you can play together, and there's so much in there, and it's so well crafted. So Kirby would have to begrudgingly take second place against that. But here, it'd be number 1, number 2, number 3. It'd be up there somewhere, but it'd give me its own award because of the bias I have for Kirby. But it's just a solid game, even without the bias towards Kirby. It really is. So third place. Third place is a 2022 game that came out like the end of the year, if I remember correctly. And that is Midnight Suns. Midnight Suns is the marvelous Marvel game there is. And it's from freaking the XCOM people. And the strategy is very good. I feel like every move you make, if you want to get maximum rewards, is important. And when a strategy game makes me feel like that, that's what I want. And I really feel satisfied when it feels like every move I make is important and every mistake I make, it should be disastrous, and it is. There's a lot of difficulty settings you can have to the game. There's a lot of bonus settings you can have to the game. There's a lot of customization to that, in a way, and it's very rewarding. And the story is interesting. It's fully voice acted, 100%. Great voice acting work. I'd say it is the voice acting game of 2022. I don't know what got it for 2022, but it is the voice acting game of 2022 for me. But I played it in 2023. So, it's really good. It is the marvelous Marvel game. It knows the characters. It understands the characters. It is the characters. Tony Stark is Tony Stark. Captain America is Captain America. Wolverine is Wolverine. Like, I've read so many comics. I've played so many games. I've done so many different medias with these characters. And I play this, and like, this is this character. They didn't do some bastardization. This is them. Captain America is Captain America. He's the guy who gives you hope. He's the guy who, you understand why he is the leader of the team. He does have that whole, like, I'm from a different time, but that doesn't mean that will stop me from just trying to be a good person and trying to improve as a human being. I love this Captain America so much. It is my favorite Captain America in video games. I'm so happy with that. Wolverine's the same thing. This dude has his rage, but he's also got his humility, and he's got his just familyness to him. He's a man that's very lonely, but also enjoys the company of others. Wolverine is that in this game. He is everything I love about Wolverine in the comics. He's got that rage, but he's also got that familyness to him in Midnight Suns. The main character is a fun character. You can make them very brutal or a little bit softer. Captain Marvel feels a lot like Captain Marvel. Peter Parker, oh my god, Spider-Man's in this game. He is Spider-Man. He is very much Spider-Man. Peter Parker is just perfection in this. This is my Peter Parker. It just feels like him so much. Just every version that I have loved, it is him. He is here. It helps that he's basically the Peter Parker from Spider-Man, the Sony Spider-Man. And then there's newcomers that I had to talk to other people and like, yeah, that's that character. Like Magic. I know a fan of Magic, and she's like, this is her Magic, and she loves this version of Magic. Because it is Magic. And then that's the name of the character. And there is also characters I don't know as well, but they feel like who they would be. Like there is Hellrider, and he is so broken in this game, but also just feels like a Mexican dude that I knew from my childhood. Like, yeah, a Mexican wrote this Mexican. He feels very much like it. And Blade, I really like Blade in this. Blade's a very fun version of Blade here. And just every character. You also got Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange is a funny kind of character. And there's just so much going on. What I love is there's so much character interaction between all the characters. Character interaction between you and the characters. The story is interesting. The gameplay is good. And it did not get the love it deserved. So because of that, it keeps being on sale. So you can get the Ultimate Edition for the price of the full game. You get every character and you get so much. There's so much content to enjoy. It is a lot. It is very fun. And it deserved more love than it got. And I think to blame is just all these just not as good entries into Marvel games really hurt its entry. I think it did. So top 2, and I'm going to get in trouble for this one because Tears of the Kingdom is number 2. Tears of the Kingdom fell victim to more Breath of the Wild. Here's the thing. You got to appreciate the craftsmanship of it. You got to appreciate all the fun ideas of it and just creativeness to the game. So many people made dong bots. It's just so big and there's so much to do, and it does feel like you're just eating a lot of goodness, but you are eating so much of it. It's just such a big game. I really enjoy it though. It's very fun. It's just there's just so much. It's a 300-hour game, and I'm like 150 hours into it. This is what I get for being a completionist. I'm not done. I got to keep going, but I appreciate how good it is. And it's very fun, and it's Tears of the Kingdom. I don't know what I can really say to this, and not everyone's already said about it. There were some good surprises in the story. I've definitely felt feelings. Good voice acting. Very good voice acting out of Zelda and other characters. And just the creativeness of what you can do with Link and the craziness you can do with Link. And all of you are monsters. Like, I've just been very helpful to the Koroks. The Koroks are just cute. I don't know why everyone's so mad at them. Y'all doing war crimes. But what hurts it, I think, is it's very big. There's a lot to discover, but it also feels empty at the same time because I feel like if they didn't do the underground, I think the sky would have been better. There's a lot to do in the sky and the underground, but the underground feels like this was the last thing they worked on, and it's just big, and there's stuff to do, but there's also not a lot to do down there at the same time. And the sky has a lot of things to do, but also just feels like Fallout in a way. It's like, oh, here's the new vault to do, here's another vault to do, here's another one to do. So it's just like island of thing to do, new island of thing to do up there in the sky. And that might just be the victim of being an open world game. Same thing with just all the trial things, doing those again. But what's good is they did bring back traditional dungeons as well, because people wanted that. And there's just a lot to do. I think if there's only one game you played this year, Tears of the Kingdom can be that game. Other ones for that would be, for sure, like Midnight Suns is a game you could play all year. There's so much to do in there. But I think the all-year game is Tears of the Kingdom. That is a game you could play all year. And because there's just so much to do in there. And you would have a lot of fun with it. Tears of the Kingdom is just very good. I don't know what I could really add to it. There's a lot of good and bad to it. At the end of the day, though, I still think it is a solid top-tier game, of course. Yeah. There are little things I think could make it better, but I think the powers are very good. And it's so fun. There's just so much of it. There's so much of it to swallow. It's too much. It's just so much. So what beats that? What beats that is controversy, because Tears of the Kingdom, of course, number one for a lot of people. Alan Wake 2 is number one for a lot of people. Baldur's Gate 3 is number one for a lot of people. And I would say Baldur's Gate 3 would beat Tears of the Kingdom. So what beats Tears of the Kingdom? Also, this would lose to Baldur's Gate 3. All these qualifiers, because I'm afraid of getting attacked. But here's the thing. What beats that is a game that I came to very late. And once I started playing, I could not put it down. I played this game for 3 days straight. And then casually played it for a couple more months after. And the number one game of the year that I'm going to get in trouble for, because it's not from 2023, but I played it late, is Inscription. Inscription is insane. The most amazing card game I have ever played. The amazing strategy to it. Every turn feels important, and you feel extremely smart, very clever when you pull it off. Fighting Leshy, just the things you do against Leshy, the things you do to outsmart Leshy, and what happens after you break out of the first act was so compelling, and it pulled me in. I couldn't stop playing, and I couldn't stop playing, and I couldn't stop playing. I wasn't eating, I wasn't drinking, I was only playing. I was so pulled into this thing. It's number one because of how tightly it gripped me and how hard it pulled me in, and I just couldn't stop. I was a slave to the game, is the best way to put it. I couldn't put it down. I had to do another run. I had to do another run. I had to do another run. I had to keep going. I had to keep going. I needed to see how far the rabbit hole went. I was enraptured in it. That's why it's number one, because nothing gripped me as hard as this game did. I couldn't stop. I just couldn't. And that's why it's number one. It is a game that I can't explain too much because it is spoiler territory, but it's just... it has to be played. It is creepy, it is scary, it is unnerving, but the gameplay is as satisfying as it gets. And the discovery of that game is as satisfying as it gets. You don't really know what's going on until you know what's going on. And you're like, oh my god, that's what's going on? And it just gets crazier and crazier. And then they had an ARG on top of it to add more to it, because this game links to the other two games the guy made and just makes it even more wild if you want to jump into that. But the game alone was such a ride. And I couldn't put it down. I just couldn't. And I just had to keep going. And then for months, I was casually playing it still in 2023. Just doing more card games and just trying to be really good at that and causing more BS in that. And it had me. And I can't say too much. Just, it is a satisfying card game with strategies that you'll come up with so many, and your mind will expand and your skill set will expand as you play it. And you just feel more satisfied the further and deeper you go down the rabbit hole of this game. It is a solid game. Very good. And that is it. That is 2023. That is it. Next time we will have a regular vlog, and I will reflect on something, and it'll be fun and things like that. And yeah, I'm curious what Jinx's top 10 are, because Jinx played a lot of games too. Maybe Jinx will say what they think. But that's it. That is the vlog. I really had fun. It was a fun year. And we'll have more fun next year. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of great games coming out. And I got to catch up on great games I missed from 2023 as well. So we'll see some 2023 stuff in 2024, I'm sure. Maybe besides Baldur's Gate 3. That's it. Fun year. Hope you all had a fun year. And let me know your top 10 as well. That's it. I had fun. Hope you have fun watching. That's what's up, as it. Having fun. Thanks, and bye. And see you next time, man. Bye, 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 bye. Bye, bye, bye. Bye, bye, bye. Dork, 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 dork. Bye, bye, bye. See ya.